14-year-old mass killer has never been seen before.
We discovered his dad on the couch.
In 2019, neuroscientists at Yale conducted an experiment. They showed participants two videos. In the first video, a person silently performed a kind act, helping someone carry groceries, nothing more. In the second video, a person performed the exact same act, but this time they filmed it, added music, and posted it online with a caption about spreading love. The researchers watched what happened in the participants' brains using fMRI scanners, and what they discovered should terrify you. When people watched the silent good deed, a specific region of their brain remained active, the part responsible for threat assessment, for skepticism, for asking, what does this person want from me? But when they watched the public good deed, the one performed for an audience, that region went quiet, not just dimmer, silent. The brain made a decision. This person has already been verified by the crowd. This person is safe. But here's what the researchers didn't tell the participants. Here's the part that we'll come back to at the end of this journey, once you've seen the evidence with your own eyes. That silent region of your brain, it's called the amygdala. And when it goes quiet, you become, neurologically speaking, as vulnerable as a child. Now you might be thinking, that's not me. I'm careful. I'm skeptical. Over the next 90 minutes, I'm going to introduce you to 12 people, 12 saints who were secretly devils. Case number 1, Ruby Franke, the mother who monetized abuse. Imagine for a moment that you're scrolling through YouTube in 2015. You're tired. Maybe you're a parent yourself, exhausted from the daily chaos of raising kids. Maybe you're not a parent, but you're curious about what family life looks like, the real version, not the Instagram highlights. And then you find her. A woman in her 30s, attractive but not intimidating. She's standing in a kitchen that looks exactly like the kind of kitchen you wish you had. Clean but lived in, organized but warm. Sunlight streams through the windows. You can hear children's laughter in the background. She smiles directly at the camera, and when she speaks, her voice has this quality that's hard to describe. It's firm but gentle, authoritative but kind. She sounds like someone who knows exactly what she's doing, someone who has it all figured out. "Welcome to 8 Passengers," she says. "I'm Ruby, and these are my 6 beautiful children." The camera pans, and you see them. 6 kids, ranging from toddlers to teenagers. They're well-dressed, well-behaved. They say yes ma'am and no ma'am. They do their chores without complaining. They sit at the dinner table and discuss their days with genuine enthusiasm. This is what you came for. This is the dream. And Ruby? Ruby is the architect of that dream. Over the next 8 years, she will upload hundreds of videos. She will document everything. Bedtime routines, homework struggles, family prayers, road trips, holidays. She will share her philosophy on discipline, on faith, on raising children who are respectful and responsible. But she'll do something else too, something subtle, something brilliant if we're being honest about the psychology of it. She'll show you her failures. Not catastrophic failures, not abuse, just the normal stuff. The moments when she loses her patience, the days when the kids fight, the times when she has to admit, I don't know what I'm doing. And this is the hook that will catch 2.5 million people. Because perfect mothers are intimidating. Perfect mothers make you feel inadequate. But a mother who struggles, who admits when she's wrong, who shows you the messy parts, that mother feels real. That mother feels safe. That mother tricks your amygdala into going quiet. By 2020, Ruby Franke isn't just a YouTuber, she's a phenomenon. Other family channels look to her for advice. Parenting forums dissect her techniques. She's invited to speak at conferences about digital media and family values. Her subscriber count grows, 200,000, 500,000, 1 million. Each new subscriber is someone who has looked at Ruby's life and thought, I want what she has. But what exactly does she have? On camera, we see structure, routine, children who know the rules and follow them. Ruby is strict, she'll tell you that herself. She believes in consequences. If one of her kids misbehaves at school, she doesn't coddle them. She takes away their bed. She makes them sleep on the floor. She films it. She explains to the camera that this is natural consequences for poor choices. Some viewers are uncomfortable. "Isn't that a little harsh?" they comment. But Ruby responds with the same calm, authoritative tone. "I love my children enough to prepare them for the real world. The real world doesn't give you participation trophies. The real world has consequences." And you know what? Thousands of parents nod along. Thousands of parents think, "She's right, we've become too soft." The children on camera don't look abused. They look disciplined. Quiet, yes. Reserved, perhaps, but respectful, obedient. Ruby has done something masterful. She's created a version of strict parenting that feels to her audience like love, tough love, the kind of love that makes you strong. In 2020, Ruby meets a woman named Jody Hildebrandt. Jody is a life coach who specializes in something called Connections, a program designed to help families work through difficult behavioral issues. On paper, Jody's credentials are impressive. She's a licensed therapist. She's worked with troubled teens for decades. Ruby is drawn to her immediately. Here is someone who shares her philosophy, someone who believes that children need firm boundaries, that modern parenting has become too permissive, too weak. They begin collaborating. Ruby starts promoting Jody's Connections program on her channel. The two women appear in videos together, discussing the importance of accountability, of not enabling bad behavior. To Ruby's followers, this partnership makes sense. Ruby has always been about discipline and structure. Jody is simply helping her refine that approach. But behind the camera, something else is happening. August 30th, 2023. It's a Wednesday morning in Ivins, Utah. The sun is already brutal, the temperature climbing toward 100 degrees. A woman is in her kitchen when she hears a knock at her door. When she opens it, she finds a boy. He's small, maybe 12 years old, maybe younger. It's hard to tell because he's so thin. His arms and legs are covered in wounds, some fresh, some scabbed over. The wounds are in strange places, around his wrists, his ankles, like he's been tied. He's barefoot, his clothes are dirty and torn, but it's his eyes that she'll remember later. When the police ask her to describe what she saw, she'll struggle to find the words. The boy's eyes are empty, not frightened, not angry, empty. "Can I have water?" he asks. His voice is hoarse. The woman stares at him. Where did you come from?" The boy points to a house a door or two down. A nice house, well-maintained, the kind of house where normal people live. "Are your parents home?" the woman asks. "My mom doesn't live there. It's Jody's house." The woman doesn't know who Jody is, but she knows what she's seeing. She's seeing a child who's been hurt, badly. She brings him inside. She gives him water. He drinks it so fast he chokes. She gives him food, just some fruit, nothing heavy. He devours it with his hands, like he hasn't eaten in days. Then she calls 911. When police arrive at Jody Hildebrandt's house, they find another child, a girl younger than the boy. She's in the same condition, emaciated, wounded, terrified. The officers search the house. What they find turns this from a case of neglect into something far darker. Ropes, handcuffs, evidence that the children have been restrained for long periods of time. The wounds on their wrists and ankles aren't accidental. They're ligature marks, proof of being bound so tightly for so long that the skin broke and bled. In interviews with investigators, the children describe their daily reality. They aren't allowed to eat unless they earn food through good behavior. They're tied up in the basement for days at a time. They're told they're possessed by demons, that the punishment is necessary to save their souls. This isn't discipline. This isn't even abuse in the conventional sense. This is torture. And Ruby Franke, the woman who taught 2.5 million people how to be better parents, was the architect of it all. The arrest makes international headlines within hours. YouTube mom arrested for child abuse. 8 passengers star accused of torturing her own children. Ruby Franke from family influencer to suspected child abuser. The comment sections of her old videos explode. People go back and watch earlier content with new eyes. They notice things they missed before. the way the children flinch when Ruby raises her voice, the way they never quite smile with their eyes, the videos where Ruby casually mentions punishments that now sound like red flags screaming in the darkness. How did we not see it? People ask. But that's the wrong question. The right question is, why did we choose not to see it? Because Ruby showed us her authentic self. She showed us the struggles. She admitted when she was tired, when she was frustrated. And every time she did that, she made us trust her more. This is the authenticity trap. We believe that vulnerability equals honesty. We believe that someone who shares their flaws must be telling the truth about everything else. But Ruby's vulnerability was strategic. She showed us the small failures, the moments of exhaustion, the days when the kids pushed her buttons, so that we would never suspect the enormous, monstrous truth underneath. She weaponized authenticity. In court, prosecutors lay out the full scope of the
abuse. The children weren't just starved and beaten, they were psychologically manipulated with surgical precision. Jody Hildebrandt, with her background in therapy, had convinced Ruby that the children were possessed by demons of entitlement and defiance. The torture wasn't punishment, it was treatment. It was helping them. Ruby bought into this completely. In her mind, she wasn't abusing her children, she was saving them. And this is perhaps the most chilling part. Ruby didn't wake up one day and decide to become a monster. She convinced herself that she was still a good mother, that the woman on YouTube and the woman tying up her children in a basement were the same person with the same goal, raising strong, disciplined kids. The performance became the reality in her mind, and the reality became unspeakable. February 20th, 2024. Ruby Franke stands in an orange jumpsuit before a judge in Utah's 5th District Court. Her hair is pulled back. She wears no makeup. She looks smaller somehow, diminished without the camera and the lights and the audience of millions. The judge reads the charges. 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, each one carrying a potential sentence of up to 15 years. Ruby's lawyer tries to argue that Jody Hildebrandt was the mastermind, that Ruby was manipulated, but the evidence is overwhelming. Ruby wasn't just following orders, she was an active, enthusiastic participant in her children's suffering. The judge sentences her to 4 consecutive terms, 1 to 15 years on each count, with the exact length to be determined by the parole board. It could be as little as 4 years. It could be the full 60. Outside the courthouse, reporters ask the question everyone is thinking. How long will she actually serve? The answer is uncertain, but one thing is clear. No amount of prison time can undo what happened in that house. No sentence can give those children back the years they lost, the childhoods that were stolen from them. Ruby Franke built an empire on the idea that she knew how to raise children better than anyone else. She made millions of people believe that strict discipline equaled love. And she did it all while running what prosecutors described as a concentration camp in her own home. If you've ever looked at someone's social media and felt inferior, if you've ever wondered why your life doesn't look as perfect as theirs, you're beginning to understand why this story matters. Because the performance of perfection isn't just annoying, it's not just fake, it's dangerous. It makes us trust people we shouldn't. It makes us ignore warning signs we should see. It makes us complicit in horrors we could have stopped. But we're just getting started. Ruby Franke mastered the art of the false saint through parenting. Our next case did it through something even more powerful. He did it through God.
Case number 2, J. Mazini, the man who turned faith into fraud.
The video starts with a phone pointed at a fast food counter. You can hear the chatter of a lunch rush, the beep of registers, the sizzle of fryers. The camera is shaky, vertical video, shot on someone's iPhone. It feels raw, real. Then a hand enters the frame, a man's hand, holding a stack of $100 bills. The stack is thick, maybe 50 bills, maybe more. $5,000, just sitting there in his palm like it's nothing. The camera pans up to the cashier, a young woman in a uniform. She's maybe 19. She looks tired, the kind of tired that comes from working 2 jobs and still not having enough for rent. "Excuse me," a voice says from behind the camera. "I want to bless you today." The woman looks confused. "I'm sorry?" "This is for you." The hand extends, offering the cash. No strings attached. "God told me to give this to you." The woman's face goes through a series of emotions in rapid succession: confusion, suspicion, disbelief, and finally, overwhelming gratitude. Her eyes fill with tears. She covers her mouth with her hands. "Are you serious?" she whispers. "Completely serious. God bless you." The camera holds on her face as she breaks down, crying. Then it cuts to black. Text appears. "Blessed another soul today. #faith. #giving. #blessed." The video goes viral immediately. Within hours, it has 1 million views. Within days, 10 million. The comment section overflows with praise. "This man is doing God's work. We need more people like this in the world. Faith in humanity restored." The man behind the camera is Jabara Igbara, but online, everyone knows him by his nickname, J. Mazini, and he's about to teach millions of people a very expensive lesson about trust. J. Mazini doesn't just do one of these videos. He does dozens, hundreds maybe. They all follow the same formula. Find someone who's struggling, surprise them with cash, film their tearful reaction, post it with inspirational captions about faith and generosity. Each video is a small masterpiece of emotional manipulation. Not manipulation of the recipient. They genuinely need the help, and they're genuinely grateful. No, the manipulation is aimed at us, the viewers. Because what J. Mazini understands better than almost anyone is the psychology of vicarious virtue. When you watch someone give money to a struggling cashier, something happens in your brain. Mirror neurons fire. You experience a diluted version of the pride and satisfaction that the giver must be feeling. You think, "That's the kind of person I want to be." And then, and this is crucial, you look at the person giving and you think, "That's the kind of person I can trust." By 2020, J. Mazini isn't just an Instagram personality. He's a brand. He has millions of followers across multiple platforms. He started a clothing line with inspirational messages. He's selling motivational courses about business and faith. But more than anything, he's positioning himself as a successful entrepreneur. He posts photos of luxury cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Bentleys. He shows off expensive watches. He takes pictures in front of mansions. The message is clear. God has blessed me with wealth, and I'm using that wealth to bless others. This is important. This is the foundation of everything that comes next. Because J. Mazini isn't just asking people to trust him, he's asking them to trust that God trusts him. And if God trusts him, how can you not? In early 2020, J. Mazini starts reaching out to people privately, not random followers, but people in his community, members of his mosque in New Jersey, friends of friends, people who know him. The pitch is simple. I'm starting an investment fund. I've been blessed with the gift of business, and I want to help my community build wealth. He explains that he's made millions through various ventures, real estate, car dealerships, import and export. Now he wants to give others the opportunity to get in on the ground floor. The terms are almost too good to believe. Invest $10,000 and he'll return $15,000 within 6 months. That's a 50% return in 6 months. When people express skepticism, because of course they do, that's an insane return. Jay Mazini has an answer ready. I know it sounds too good to be true, but I'm not doing this for the money. I already have money. I'm doing this because my faith teaches me to lift up my community. This is charity in the form of opportunity. And then he shows them his lifestyle, the cars, the houses, the receipts from his businesses. He introduces them to other investors who have already seen returns. He prays with them. He quotes scripture. How can you say no to someone like that? The first hint that something is wrong comes in late 2020. An investor contacts Jay Mazini about his promised return. It's been 6 months. He invested $20,000. He should be getting $30,000 back. Jay Mazini apologizes profusely. There's been a delay with the wire transfer, bank complications. It'll be resolved in a week. A week passes. Nothing. The investor calls again. Jay Mazini sends him a screenshot of a wire transfer confirmation. See, it's been sent. Should hit your account any day now. Another week. Still nothing. That's when the investor does something that will eventually save him and doom Jay Mazini. He saves all the messages. He screenshots the fake wire transfers. He starts building a case. Because those wire transfer confirmations, they're photoshopped. Jay Mazini created them in image editing software, hoping no one would actually verify them with their banks. When the FBI finally gets involved, they discover that Jay Mazini wasn't just running one scam, he was running multiple overlapping schemes, each one more brazen than the last. Scheme number 1, the classic Ponzi. He took money from new investors and used it to pay back old investors, creating the illusion that his investment fund was legitimate. But Ponzi schemes always collapse. There's never enough new money to keep paying the old debts. Scheme number 2, the cryptocurrency con. As Bitcoin and other digital currencies became popular, Jay Mazini pivoted. He told his followers he wanted to buy their Bitcoin at above market rates. People sent him their crypto, excited to make an instant profit. He simply kept it. Scheme number 3, the PPP loan fraud. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when the government was distributing paycheck protection loans to struggling businesses, Jay Mazini submitted applications for companies that didn't exist. He received hundreds of thousands of dollars in government money meant to keep workers employed. He spent it on luxury goods. In total, federal prosecutors estimate that Jay Mazini stole at least $8 million, but the real number is probably higher. Many victims, especially in the Muslim community, were too ashamed to come forward. They felt stupid for being tricked by someone they'd prayed alongside. This is part of the genius of Jay Mazini's con. He didn't just steal money, he stole dignity. He made his victims complicit in their own victimization by wrapping the fraud in religious language. If you lost money, it wasn't because you'd been conned, it was because your faith had been tested. And if you complained, well, weren't you being greedy? Wasn't Jay Mazini trying to help the community? This is what weaponized faith looks like. April 2024. Jay Mazini stands in federal court in Newark, New Jersey. The federal prosecutor presents the evidence methodically. The fake wire transfers, the photoshopped bank statements, the testimony from victims, dozens of them, some who lost their life savings. One victim, an elderly man named Ahmed, testifies through tears. He had given Jay Mazini his entire retirement fund, $50,000, because he believed he was investing in his grandchildren's future. He prayed with me, Ahmed says. We prayed together before I gave him the money. He thanked Allah for the opportunity to help me build wealth. The money is gone, all of it. The judge doesn't mince words at sentencing. Mr. Igbara, you have betrayed not just your victims, but your entire community. You have weaponized faith. You have turned charity into a con. You have made it harder for every legitimate person of faith who tries to help others, because now there will always be doubt. 7 years in federal prison, $10 million in restitution and forfeiture. But here's what the sentence can't fix: the broken trust. The families who now suspect everyone who offers help. The legitimate charities in the Muslim community that will struggle to raise funds because donors remember Jay Mazini and wonder, what if this is another con? Jay Mazini didn't just steal money, he stole something more valuable.
Of a community to trust its own members. And this brings us back to our master mystery. Remember the brain scans? Remember how public displays of virtue make our threat detection systems go quiet? Jay Mazini understood this instinctively. Every video of him giving away money was an investment, not in charity, in credibility. Each viral video was worth thousands of dollars in future cons because it made people think, this man gives so much away. Imagine what he could do with my money if I invest with him. The performance of generosity became the perfect cover for theft, and the more he gave in public, the more he could steal in private. If you've ever sent money to someone because they seemed trustworthy online, if you've ever invested based on someone's reputation rather than actual evidence, then you understand why these stories matter. Ruby used the performance of motherhood. Jay Mazini used the performance of faith. But our next case, he used the most powerful performance of all. He wore the uniform of a hero. Case 3. Robert Bales, when the protector becomes the predator. September 11th, 2001. Robert Bales is 36 years old, working as a stockbroker in Ohio. He's living an ordinary life, married, building a career, thinking about starting a family. And then, like millions of Americans, he watches the Twin Towers fall. Something changes in him that day. He feels it viscerally, the need to do something, to be part of something larger than himself, to protect the country that protected him. Within months, he enlists in the army. This is important to understand. Robert Bales wasn't drafted, he wasn't forced, he chose this. He walked into a recruitment office as a grown man and said, "I want to serve." And the Army welcomed him. By 2012, Staff Sergeant Robert Bales has become exactly what the recruitment posters promise: a warrior, a protector, a professional. He's completed 3 combat tours in Iraq, 3 tours of experiencing things that most of us will never understand: the heat, the fear, the constant awareness that any moment could be your last. He's seen friends wounded. He's seen enemies killed. He's done the impossible mathematics of war, where you calculate whether shooting one person might save 10 others. And he's been decorated for it. Medals, commendations, the kind of recognition that says, this man did his duty when it was hard. This man held the line. Now he's in Afghanistan, his 4th deployment. Camp Billingsley in Kandahar province, one of the most dangerous regions in the country. To the soldiers at Camp Billingsley, Robert Bales is a veteran, not just in terms of time served, but in wisdom. He's the guy who's been there, done that, survived that. When newer soldiers have questions, they go to Bales. When things get tense, Bales is the steady hand. He is, by every metric that matters in the military, trustworthy. It's after midnight. Most of the base is asleep or on routine watch. Kandahar nights are cold, the kind of cold that seeps through your gear and settles in your bones.
Sergeant Bales is supposed to be in his quarters. Instead, he's moving through the darkness outside the wire, military speak for leaving the protection of the base and entering hostile territory. But he's not on patrol. He's not responding to an emergency. He's hunting. He approaches the village of Al-Khozai. It's a small community, maybe a few dozen families, farmers mostly, the kind of people who just want to survive the war, no matter who's fighting it. Bales enters a compound. Inside, he sees a woman. Her name is Naik Marga. She's a mother, a wife. She's asleep, or maybe she just woke up, confused why an American soldier is in her home in the middle of the night. Bales will later tell investigators that when he saw her, he formed the desire to murder her. Not I felt threatened, not I made a split-second decision. He formed the desire, as if murder were something you could crave, like hunger or thirst. He shoots her, but he doesn't stop. What happens next isn't the fog of war. It isn't confusion or panic or a mistake made under pressure. What happens next is methodical, calculated, the kind of thing that requires planning and follow-through. Bales moves through Al-Khozai and the neighboring village of Najiban like he's clearing a building in training, room to room, target to target, except the targets aren't enemy combatants, they're civilians, families, children. By the time the sun rises, 16 people are dead. 9 of them are children, the youngest just 2 years old. And in a final act that seems designed to erase any ambiguity about whether this was an accident, Bales sets some of the bodies on fire. When Bales returns to Camp Bellingsley, his uniform is covered in blood. Not spatter, the kind you might get in combat, but soaked, the kind of blood you get from being close, from executing people at point-blank range. The soldiers who see him don't immediately understand what they're looking at. Has there been a firefight? Is Bales wounded? Did something happen outside the wire? And then someone makes the call. Someone checks on the nearby villages. The bodies are discovered. The truth becomes undeniable. The decorated soldier, the veteran, the man everyone trusted, he's a mass murderer. In the aftermath, people scramble for explanations. Was it PTSD? Bales had been deployed 4 times. Maybe something finally broke in him. Was it a traumatic brain injury? Bales had been in multiple explosions during his tours. Maybe his brain was damaged. Was it alcohol? Some reports suggest Bales had been drinking that night. These explanations are offered not just by his defense team, but by the public, by us, because we need it to make sense. We need there to be a reason why a protector became a predator. But when Bales pleads guilty in June 2013, accepting life in prison to avoid the death penalty, the judge asks him directly, "Why did you do this?" And Bales gives an answer that's somehow more terrifying than any explanation involving PTSD or brain injuries or alcohol. "Sir, as far as why, I've asked that question 1,000,000 times since then. There's not a good reason in this world for why I did the horrible things I did. There's not a good reason." Think about that. A man who chose to serve his country, who voluntarily put on the uniform, who earned medals and respect. He murdered 16 innocent people, including 9 children, and he can't explain why. This is the nightmare scenario that every military depends on never happening, because the entire structure of an armed forces is built on trust. We trust soldiers with weapons, with authority, with the power to take lives, because we believe they will only use that power to protect the innocent. Robert Bales shattered that trust in the most absolute way possible. Every war hero who came after Bales now carries this shadow. Every soldier who serves honorably has to live with the knowledge that when people see the uniform, some of them will think of Al-Khozai, of Naik Marga, of the 9 children who died in their sleep. This is what weaponized trust looks like in its purest form. Bales didn't need to build the social media following. He didn't need to film charity videos. He just needed to wear the uniform, and we trusted him because of it. Today, Robert Bales is inmate number 11761-025 at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. It's the military's only maximum security prison, and it's where Bales will spend every remaining day of his life. No parole, no possibility of release. The judge made sure of that. But here's what keeps me up at night about this case. Robert Bales wasn't obviously broken. He wasn't the soldier everyone whispered about, the one who seemed unstable or dangerous. He was normal, trusted, reliable, right up until he wasn't. If you're feeling disturbed right now, good. That means your amygdala is waking up. That means you're starting to see the pattern, because we're approaching the halfway point, and you might be thinking, these are extreme cases, these are aberrations. But are they? Or are they simply the cases where the mask slipped completely? Our next case is going to challenge that assumption even further, because our next subject isn't a soldier, or an influencer, or a religious figure. He's a child, a 15-year-old Boy Scout who built prayer gardens, and on one February night, he decided his family needed to die.
Case 4. Nicholas Browning, When Privilege Becomes Poison.
Cockeysville, Maryland is the kind of suburb that appears in magazines. Tree-lined streets, houses with manicured lawns, good schools, low crime. The kind of place where parents move specifically because they want their children to have every advantage. The Browning family fit perfectly into this landscape. John Browning was a successful defense attorney. Tamara was a stay-at-home mother who volunteered at the church and organized community events. They had 3 boys, Nicholas, 15, Gregory, 13, and Benjamin, 11. If you asked anyone in Cockeysville about the Brownings, you'd hear the same things. Great family, really involved in the community. Those boys are so well raised. And Nicholas was the crown jewel. 15 years old, honor roll student, varsity athlete. He had an IQ that tested in the gifted range. He was a Boy Scout working toward his Eagle Scout designation, the highest rank, the one that requires not just participation, but leadership and service. He volunteered at church, not just showing up for services, but actually doing work. He helped build prayer gardens for the congregation. He participated in youth group activities. When adults talked to Nicholas, they walked away thinking, that's a good kid. That's the kind of son you want. He was polite. He said yes, sir, and no, ma'am. He looked adults in the eye when they spoke to him. He had plans for college, for the future. There wasn't a single warning sign that anyone could see. But let's pause here. Let's think about what it means to be Nicholas Browning. You're 15 years old. You live in a wealthy suburb. Your father is a successful attorney who expects excellence. Your mother is deeply involved in your life, church, school, extracurriculars. Your younger brothers look up to you. Everyone has expectations. Teachers expect you to get good grades. Coaches expect you to perform. Scout leaders expect you to demonstrate leadership. Your parents expect you to be the example for your brothers. And you meet those expectations every time. You're the golden child. But what happens inside a mind like that? What happens when every aspect of your life is structured, observed, evaluated? Most kids in that situation do one of 2 things. They thrive on it, genuinely enjoying the achievement and recognition, or they crack under the pressure, acting out, rebelling, making it clear that they need help. Nicholas Browning did neither. Instead, he built a second self, a hidden self, a self that existed behind the Boy Scout uniform and the honor roll certificates and the polite smile. It's Friday night.
Nicholas has permission to sleep over at a friend's house, a normal thing for a 15-year-old, a reward even for being such a responsible kid. The friend lives close by, the parents know each other, everything is safe, appropriate, normal. Nicholas and his friends hang out. They play video games, eat pizza, talk about school. Just teenage boys doing teenage things. Around midnight, Nicholas tells his friends he needs to run home to grab his car. He'd forgotten something, or that's what he tells them. His friends don't think anything of it. Nicholas is responsible. He's the kind of kid who plans ahead. If he needs his car, he probably has a good reason. Nicholas leaves. He does not go to get his car. Earlier that day, Nicholas had asked his youngest brother Benjamin to leave the basement door unlocked. Benjamin, 11 years old, did what his older brother asked. Why wouldn't he? Nicholas had never given him a reason not to trust him. Nicholas enters the house through that unlocked door. The house is quiet. John Browning is asleep on the sofa in the living room. Tamara Browning is in the master bedroom. His brothers, Gregory and Benjamin, are in their rooms. Everyone is where they're supposed to be, safe in their own home, protected by locks and security systems, and the basic assumption that the people who love you won't hurt you. Nicholas picks up his father's 9mm gun.
What happens next isn't a crime of passion. It isn't a sudden snap, a moment of rage where someone loses control. It's methodical. Nicholas moves through the house, room by room. He has a plan. He executes it with the same efficiency he probably applied to his homework, his sports, his scout projects. First, his father, shot while sleeping on the couch. Then, upstairs, his mother, shot in her bed. Then, the hardest part, or maybe, disturbingly, the easiest, his brother's rooms. Gregory, 13, the brother closest to him in age, the brother he'd grown up with, fought with, played with, shot while sleeping. Benjamin, 11, the baby of the family, the brother who'd left the door unlocked because Nicholas asked him to, shot while sleeping. 4 people, 4 murders, 1 gun. Nicholas wipes the gun clean of prints and throws it into some bushes outside. Then he returns to his friend's house. When he walks back into the sleepover, his friends ask, "Did you get your car?" "Yeah," Nicholas says, "but I accidentally fell asleep in it for a bit. Sorry I took so long." And then he picks up a game controller and keeps playing. Think about that. Think about what has to be happening in someone's mind for them to murder their entire family and then return to play video games with friends, to laugh at jokes, to act completely normal. This isn't the behavior of someone who lost control. This is someone who never lost control at all. Saturday morning, Nicholas returns home. His friends have left. It's time to resume his normal life. Except, of course, his normal life has been erased. He discovers the bodies. Here's where it gets even chilling. Nicholas knows exactly how to play this. He runs outside, screaming for help. He calls 911, sobbing. He collapses on the lawn, crying so hard he can barely speak. The neighbors rush over. The police arrive. Everyone's first instinct is to comfort him, this poor boy who just lost his entire family. And Nicholas lets them. He accepts their comfort. He cries into their shoulders. He plays the role of the grieving survivor so convincingly that no one suspects him. No one except the detectives. Homicide detectives have a sense for these things. It's not magic, it's pattern recognition built from years of seeing how people really react to trauma. And Nicholas's reaction doesn't quite fit. The tears are there, yes, but they're controlled, performed. He cries when people are watching, but when he thinks no one is paying attention, his face goes neutral, blank.
He's too helpful with details. Most people in genuine shock can barely remember what day it is. Nicholas can walk the detectives through the entire morning, moment by moment, with perfect clarity. And there's something else. He doesn't ask the right questions. A normal person would want to know, did they suffer? Who could have done this? Are we safe? Nicholas doesn't ask any of that. It's like he already knows the answers. The detectives bring him in for questioning. They're gentle at first. He's a minor, a victim, a boy who just lost his family. But they watch him carefully. And gradually, Nicholas makes mistakes. Small ones, inconsistencies in his timeline, details that don't quite match the evidence. The way he describes finding the bodies doesn't align with the blood spatter patterns. Finally, they push. Nicholas, we know you did this. We have evidence. Help us understand why. And Nicholas folds. Not dramatically, not emotionally. He just admits it, as if he's been waiting for permission to stop pretending. In his confession, Nicholas explains his reasoning, or tries to. He was tired of the rules. He wanted freedom, and this is where it gets even darker. He didn't want to share his inheritance. That's it. That's the explanation for why the honor student, the Boy Scout, the golden child murdered his entire family. He was annoyed by his father's rules, he wanted money, and he decided that killing 4 people was an acceptable solution to those problems. Prosecutors would later argue that this wasn't a sudden decision. Nicholas had been planning this. He'd thought about it, calculated the risks, figured out how to do it. The prayer gardens, he built a church, the volunteer work, the straight A's, all of it was camouflage. All of it was building a reputation so no one would ever suspect he capable of violence. And it almost worked. Because Nicholas was 15, there were legal complications. How do you sentence a child, even one who committed such a calculated crime? The judge ultimately gave him 4 consecutive life terms. Under Maryland law at the time, he would be eligible for parole after serving a minimum of 30 years. 30 years. That means if everything goes perfectly for Nicholas, if he behaves in prison, if he convinces parole boards that he's reformed, if the legal system decides he's served enough time, he could walk free in his mid-40s, still young enough for a full life, while his brothers, Gregory and Benjamin, will never be older than 13 and 11. Here's what haunts me about Nicholas. He was the perfect proof of concept. Everything we tell children about success, work hard, get good grades, be involved in your community, be respectful to adults, Nicholas did. He did it all, and he did it while planning to murder his family. This means one of 2 things, and I'm not sure which is more terrifying. Either Nicholas was always a sociopath, and the golden child persona was always fake, which means we have no reliable way to identify these people before they act. Or Nicholas became this through some process we don't understand, which means any child, under the right circumstances, could make the same transformation. If you're a parent watching this, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about your own children. You're wondering, how would I know? What are the signs? And the terrifying answer is, sometimes there aren't any. Sometimes the monster wears the mask so perfectly that even the people who love them most never see what's underneath. But we're not done. We have 6 more cases, 6 more examples of how people weaponize our trust, and they're going to push even further into the uncomfortable territory of what happens when we believe what we see. Starting with the cheerleader who became America's sweetheart and then America's predator.
Case number 5. Jerry Harris,
When positivity becomes predation. January 2020. If you were on social media that month, you couldn't escape it. Everyone was talking about the same thing, a Netflix documentary called Cheer. The show followed the competitive cheerleading team at Navarro College in Texas as they prepared for the national championship. It was supposed to be a niche documentary about a niche sport. Instead, it became a cultural phenomenon. Part of the reason was the sport itself. Competitive cheerleading at this level is extraordinary. These athletes launch themselves 30 feet in the air, flip 3 times, and land in someone's arms, all while making it look effortless. But the real reason Cheer went viral was Jerry Harris. Jerry didn't look like a typical athlete. He wasn't the one doing the most impressive stunts. He wasn't the team captain. But he had something else: undiluted, relentless, infectious enthusiasm. His specialty was mat talk, the cheerleader who stands on the sidelines during routines and shouts encouragement. But Jerry didn't just shout generic phrases like "you got this." He personalized it. He made every teammate feel like they were the star, like their contribution mattered, like they were capable of anything. The camera loved him. The audience loved him. Within days of Cheer dropping on Netflix, Jerry Harris became the breakout star. He appeared on talk shows. Ellen DeGeneres invited him on and loved him so much she kept bringing him back. She eventually made him a correspondent, sending him to interview celebrities on red carpets. Imagine that. A 20-year-old from a community college in Texas suddenly rubbing shoulders with A-list celebrities. And not just attending events, being sought after because he brought something these famous people couldn't generate themselves: genuine joy. And then we learned Jerry's story, the story that made him not just likable, but inspiring. Jerry's mother passed away when he was 16. He'd been her caretaker in her final months, dealing with grief that no teenager should have to carry. After she passed, he was essentially alone. He went to live with various family members and friends, never quite having a stable home. Cheerleading became his escape, his salvation. The Navarro team became his family. When he talked about this on camera, when he became emotional remembering his mother, when he talked about how cheerleading saved him, it wasn't manipulation, it was real. And that's what made us trust him completely. This wasn't some privileged person looking for fame. This was a survivor, someone who'd been through hardship and came out the other side radiating positivity. How could you not admire Jerry Harris? But while Jerry was filming celebrities and appearing on national television, while millions of people were celebrating him as a symbol of overcoming adversity, something else was happening. Something that had nothing to do with cheerleading or inspiration or positivity. Jerry Harris was using his celebrity status to contact minors inappropriately. The first reports surface in September 2020. 2 brothers, both minors, both competitive cheerleaders, come forward with serious allegations. They stated Jerry had been contacting them online since they were 13 years old, that he'd repeatedly requested inappropriate images, that he'd made inappropriate comments, that he'd used his fame, his connection to Cheer, his relationship with Ellen, his status as a role model to make them feel like they couldn't refuse. The allegations are specific, detailed, serious. The reaction is immediate: shock, disbelief. Surely there's been a mistake. Surely this is a misunderstanding. Jerry Harris, the positivity icon? No way. But the FBI doesn't investigate based on social media reputation. They investigate based on evidence. When federal agents execute search warrants on Jerry's electronic devices, they find exactly what the brothers described. Digital communications, images, videos, a pattern of behavior that spanned months, possibly years. Jerry had used social media platforms to contact young fans, boys who looked up to him, who wanted to be cheerleaders like him, who saw him as a mentor.
He would start innocuously, just friendly messages, complimenting their routines, encouraging their talents, telling them to keep working hard. The boys were thrilled. Jerry Harris, the Jerry Harris from Netflix, was messaging them directly. Their hero knew they existed. And then, gradually, Jerry would shift the conversation, testing boundaries, asking personal questions, requesting photos that were completely inappropriate. Some boys blocked him, some told their parents, but others, and this is the horrible reality of grooming, felt trapped. Because who would believe them? Who would believe that America's cheerleader, the guy who made Ellen laugh, the symbol of positivity, was doing this to 13-year-olds? This is what grooming looks like in the digital age. Jerry didn't physically approach these boys. He didn't have to. His fame did the work for him. Every appearance on television, every viral moment, every interview where he talked about overcoming adversity, it was all building credibility. It was all making it easier for him to approach young fans and have them trust him. The federal charges are filed in December 2020. They're specific and serious. Charges related to inappropriate material with minors, travel with intent to engage in illegal conduct, enticement of minors. These aren't vague allegations. These are federal offenses with mandatory minimum sentences. And the evidence isn't just the testimony of victims, although that alone would be powerful. The evidence includes Jerry's own digital communications, his own words saved on servers and devices. In July 2022, Jerry pleads guilty. Not to a reduced charge, not to a technicality. He pleads guilty to the core accusations. He solicited inappropriate images from minors and traveled to meet a minor. The sentencing hearing is heartbreaking for everyone involved. The victims, now older, some of them in their late teens, testify about the impact. One of them talks about how he can't watch cheerleading anymore, the sport he loved, because it reminds him of Jerry. Another talks about trust issues, about how he can't accept praise from adults without wondering what they want from him. The judge listens to it all, and then he makes his decision. 12 years in federal prison. It's a significant sentence, but more importantly, it's a statement. Celebrity is not a shield. Trauma is not an excuse. And positivity, performative public positivity, doesn't mean someone is safe. Netflix adds a content warning to Cheer. The cheerleading community grapples with how to discuss Jerry. Do they erase him from the history of the sport? Do they acknowledge his contributions while condemning his actions? There's no easy answer. But here's what we can learn from this case. Jerry Harris didn't become famous and then become a predator. The evidence suggests he was engaging in this behavior before fame, and fame simply gave him access to more victims. The Matt talk, the positivity, the inspirational story, none of it was fake. Jerry Harris genuinely overcame adversity. He genuinely loved cheerleading. He genuinely helped his teammates. And he also genuinely harmed children. Both things are true. That's what makes it so disturbing. If you have children who follow celebrities, who communicate with people online, who look up to public figures, you need to understand this case. Because the lesson isn't that all celebrities are dangerous. That's not true, and it's not useful. The lesson is public goodness is not private safety. The person who seems the most trustworthy might be using that trustworthiness as a weapon. Your instincts want to relax when you see someone like Jerry Harris. He's joyful, he's overcome hardship, he's helping others. But you need to keep your guard up. You need to stay skeptical, because predators know exactly which costume to wear. Now, let's shift. Our next case involves a family affair, a mother and daughter who turned social media fame into a plan for violence. And it all started with a secret that threatened their carefully curated image.
Case number 6, Mahek and Ansreen Bukhari, when image is worth killing for.
Let's talk about what TikTok promises. It promises the you, yes you, the person scrolling at 2 a.m. instead of sleeping, could become famous.
Not Hollywood famous, where you need agents and auditions and luck. TikTok famous, where all you need is a phone and something that captures attention. Mahek Bukhari understood this better than most. She was 23 years old, living in Leicestershire, England. She wasn't a model or an actress or anything that would traditionally make someone famous, but she had something that TikTok values even more: aesthetic. Her feed was carefully curated: designer outfits, luxury cars, perfect makeup, videos of her and her mother on screen, lip-syncing to popular songs, showing off shopping hauls, projecting an image of wealth and closeness. To her followers, and she had built a decent following, thousands of people watching her daily life, Mahek represented aspiration. She was the life you could have if you just worked hard enough, if you styled yourself right, if you projected confidence. But like everything else we've examined, the image was a lie. Behind Mahek's glamorous TikToks was a family secret that would eventually cost two young men their lives. Ansreen Bukhari, Mahek's mother, was 46 years old and married. On the surface, she was a respectable woman, a mother, a wife, but she'd been having an affair with a man named Saqib Hussain. Saqib was 21 years old, young enough to be her son, and that's part of what made the affair so risky. It wasn't just infidelity, it was scandalous. In the close-knit British South Asian community they belonged to, this kind of revelation could destroy a family's reputation. When Ansreen tried to end the affair, Saqib didn't want to let go. He had feelings for her, he felt used, and he had leverage. Photos, messages, evidence of the relationship. He told Ansreen that unless she paid him off, he would expose everything. He would send the messages to her husband. He would tell everyone. Her marriage would be over. Her standing in the community would be destroyed. But most importantly, and this is where it becomes fatal, her daughter's TikTok image would be ruined. Think about what Ansreen was facing. Not just the end of her marriage, though that would have been devastating. Not just shame in her community, though that would have been painful. She was facing the destruction of her daughter's carefully built digital empire. Because here's the thing about influencer culture. Your worth is measured in followers, in engagement, in the perception of your life. Mahek's entire identity was wrapped up in being the glamorous, successful daughter of a respectable family. If word got out that her mother was having an affair with someone barely older than Mahek herself, the ridicule would be instant and merciless. The followers would leave, the brand deals would evaporate, everything Mahek had built would collapse. So Ansreen told her daughter, and together they made a decision. They decided that killing Saqib was preferable to being embarrassed. They didn't hire a professional. They didn't poison him quietly. They staged an ambush that frankly sounds like it came from a bad action movie. Ansreen and Mahek contacted Saqib and agreed to meet him. They said they would pay him what he wanted. They said they would resolve everything peacefully. Saqib brought a friend, Hashim Ijazuddin. Maybe for safety, maybe just for company, maybe because he was nervous about meeting Ansreen after she'd gotten so angry about the blackmail. But what Saqib didn't know was that Ansreen and Mahek had recruited help. They'd convinced several young men, friends, associates, people looking for excitement or money to be part of the plan. 2 cars, an Audi TT and a Seat Leon, driven by accomplices. Mahek and her mother were in one of them. The plan was simple: ram Saqib's car off the road, make it look like an accident, no bodies to hide, no direct murder weapon to trace, just a tragic car crash. It's after midnight on the A46 highway near Leicester. Saqib and Hashim Ijazuddin are driving a Skoda Fabia, heading to what they think is going to be a peaceful meeting. Then they notice the cars behind them, following too close, driving aggressively. Saqib accelerates. The cars accelerate too. This isn't traffic. This is a pursuit. What happens next is captured on multiple security cameras along the route and on Saqib's own phone, because Saqib, terrified, called 999, the UK's emergency number. The recording of that call is harrowing. Saqib is screaming, "They're trying to kill me! They're trying to kill me! They're hitting my car!" The operator is trying to get information. "Where are you? Who's chasing you? Can you pull over?" But Saqib can't pull over. Every time he slows down, the cars get closer. He can see them in his mirrors, weaving through traffic, hunting him. He's doing 80, 90, 100 miles per hour on roads not designed for those speeds. Hashim is next to him, probably equally terrified, probably wondering how this happened, how a meetup to resolve a relationship dispute turned into a high-speed death chase. The operator hears Saqib's voice change from panicked to horrified. "They're going to..." And then the line goes dead. The pursuers, the Audi, the Seat Leon, had finally gotten close enough. They rammed the Skoda from behind and from the side, sending it spinning out of control. The Skoda hit the central reservation barrier at over 80 miles per hour. The impact was catastrophic. The car crumpled, and then, as if the crash itself wasn't enough, the fuel tank ruptured. The car erupted in flames. Saqib Hussain and Hashim Ijazuddin burned to death inside the wreckage. The other cars, the ones who had been chasing them, didn't stop to help. They didn't call emergency services. They fled the scene, leaving 2 young men to die on the side of the highway. The police initially treated it as a tragic accident, high-speed crash, young drivers, maybe they'd been racing or showing off. But then they listened to the 999 call. They heard Saqib screaming about being chased. They pulled security footage and saw the pursuit. They identified the vehicles involved. And when they traced those vehicles back to their owners, they found Mahek Bukhari and her mother. When Mahek was arrested, she did what she'd been trained to do by years of social media. She performed. In court, she tried to maintain the same carefully curated image, designer outfits within the limits of what was allowed, perfect makeup, an expression of confused innocence. She wasn't a murderer, her lawyer argued. She was a young woman caught up in her mother's drama. Yes, she was there. Yes, she was in one of the cars, but she didn't know they were going to kill anyone. She thought they were just going to scare Saqib. The prosecution dismantled this argument with brutal efficiency. They presented phone records showing Mahek actively recruiting the drivers. They showed messages where they discussed the plan. They played the 999 call for the jury, letting them hear Saqib's terror in his final moments. And they presented something that proved Mahek's true character, her behavior after the murders. Because Mahek didn't express remorse, she didn't confess, she didn't even stop posting on TikTok. While Saqib and Hashim's families were planning funerals, Mahek was posting glamour shots and makeup tutorials. The judge didn't hold back. Your tawdry fame and your self-obsessed behavior led you to treat human lives as disposable. 2 young men died because you and your mother cared more about your reputation than their right to live. He sentenced Mahek to life with a minimum of 31 years and 8 months. 31 years. She's 23 now. When she's first eligible for parole, she'll be 54, middle-aged. The Instagram generation she belonged to will have moved on. The TikToks she carefully curated will be digital fossils. Her mother, Ansreen, received life with a minimum of 26 years and 8 months. The accomplices, the drivers, received various sentences ranging from 11 to 28 years. Here's what haunts me about this case. Mahek and Ansreen didn't kill for money. They didn't kill themselves from physical harm. They killed for an image. They decided that maintaining the appearance of a perfect, glamorous life was worth more than 2 actual human lives. This is what happens when performance becomes identity, when the curated self feels more real than the actual self, when followers and likes become the measure of worth. And in the age of influencers and algorithms, that psychology is being amplified every day. We're past the halfway point now.
6 cases down, 4 to go, and the pattern is becoming undeniable. But let's shift away from digital fame, because our next case brings us back to something older, something more primal, the helpful neighbor, the person you trust with your keys.
Case number 8. Ali Abulaban, Jinn Kid. When comedy masks obsession.
In 2019, if you were on TikTok, and millions of people were, you probably saw Jinn Kid. His real name was Ali Abulaban, but online he was Jinn Kid, a comedy creator who specialized in impressions and character work. His most famous bit was his Tony Montana impression, you know, the Scarface character. Ali would reenact scenes from the movie, or he'd place Tony Montana in absurd modern situations. Tony Montana at Starbucks, Tony Montana playing video games, Tony Montana dealing with traffic. It was funny, really funny, the kind of content that makes you stop scrolling and actually watch. He also did impressions from Skyrim, the video game. He'd quote the game's dialogue in perfect character voices, creating skits that resonated with gamers. His follower count grew rapidly, 100,000, 500,000, eventually nearly 1 million followers. Not mega-viral influencer numbers, but significant, enough to start thinking about sponsorships, about turning this into a career. And Ali had more than just talent. He had the complete package. A beautiful wife named Anna, a young daughter, good looks, charm. He presented himself as a family man who also happened to be funny. The kind of person you'd want to grab a beer with, harmless, entertaining. But behind the comedy videos, behind the smiling family photos, Ali Abulaban's marriage was collapsing. According to friends and court documents, Ali was intensely jealous, controlling. He monitored Anna's phone. He questioned where she went, who she talked to, what she was doing every moment they weren't together. Anna tried to make it work. She tried therapy. She tried setting boundaries. But by 2021, she'd had enough. She asked Ali to move out of their San Diego apartment. She wanted separation, space, time to figure out if the marriage could be saved or if it needed to end. Ali moved out, reluctantly, angrily. But he didn't really leave. Here's what Ali did. He took his 5-year-old daughter's iPad and installed a listening app on it. Then he left it in the apartment. It wasn't sophisticated. It was just an app that would let him listen to whatever was happening in the apartment from a remote location. So even though Ali had physically moved out, he was still there, digitally, listening to Anna's conversations, her phone calls, her private life. This went on for weeks, Ali listening, Anna unaware. And on October 21, 2021, Ali heard something that sent him into a rage. He heard Anna talking to a man, laughing, relaxed, happy in a way she hadn't been with Ali in years. The man was Rayburn Barron, a friend Anna had started seeing. Nothing was confirmed publicly about the exact nature of their relationship, but it didn't matter to Ali what it was. He heard another man in his apartment with his wife, and he snapped. Ali grabbed a gun. He drove to the apartment building. He let himself in. He still had a key. When he entered, he found Anna and Rayburn together, talking, completely unaware that they were being watched. Ali shot Rayburn first, 3 times, close range, execution style. Then he turned the gun on Anna, his wife, the mother of his child, the woman he'd built a TikTok brand around as his beautiful family. He shot her in the head. But here's where the case becomes even more disturbing. After murdering 2 people, after destroying his daughter's life irreparably, Ali didn't flee immediately. He didn't panic. He called his mother to confess. Then he went to pick up his daughter from school. Imagine that. Imagine being 5 years old, getting picked up from school by your father, not knowing that he just murdered your mother.
that the life you knew ended hours ago, but you're still living in the before. Ali drove around with his daughter in the car, probably trying to figure out what to do next. Eventually, police tracked him down and arrested him, his daughter witnessing her father being taken into custody. The trial didn't happen until 2024, and during that trial, Ali created one more viral moment. There's a video, you've probably seen it if you've been online, of Ali Abulaban crying in court. Not quiet, dignified tears, full, body-shaking sobs, his face contorted in anguish. The video went massively viral, millions of views, comments debating whether the tears were real or performed, whether Ali was genuinely remorseful or just sorry he got caught. The defense tried to argue that Ali acted in the heat of passion, that he was overcome with emotion, that this wasn't premeditated, he just snapped. But the prosecution had the listening device. They had him driving to the apartment with a loaded gun. They had him making conscious decisions every step of the way. This wasn't passion, this was control. Ali Abulaban wanted to control Anna when they were married. He wanted to control her when they were separated. And when he realized he couldn't control her anymore, he decided to end her. The jury convicted him of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced Ali to 2 consecutive life terms plus 50 years. He told Ali directly, "You will die in prison. No parole, no second chances, no hope of walking free." The man who made millions laugh will spend the rest of his life in a cell, alone, with the knowledge of what he did. But even in court, even during sentencing, Ali was performing. The tears, the collapsed posture, the broken voice, it was all a performance. The same skills that made him good at TikTok impressions made him good at playing the remorseful killer. But the jury saw through it. The judge saw through it. Because here's the thing about performers, they're always performing, even when the performance is supposed to be authenticity. Ali Abulaban built a brand on being funny, being charming, being the kind of guy everyone likes, and he used that brand to mask a violent, obsessive personality that couldn't handle rejection. His daughter will grow up without parents, without her mother, who Ali murdered, without her father, who chose murder over accepting that Anna didn't want to be with him anymore. The comedy videos are still out there on the internet, frozen in time. You can still watch Jin Kid do his Tony Montana impression. You can still see him being funny, but you can't unsee what came after. If you've ever wondered how someone could seem so normal, so likable, so harmless, and then commit an act of horrific violence, Ali Abulaban is your answer. The performance of normalcy, of humor, of being a good guy, is not proof of anything. It's just a performance. And sometimes the best performers are the most dangerous. We have 2 more cases, 2 more examples of people who weaponized trust, and they're going to bring us full circle to where we started. The question of why we believe people who show us their virtue publicly.
Case number 9, Ashley Grayson. When success becomes psychopathy. Let me show you what success looks like in 2023. It looks like Ashley Grayson's Instagram feed. Photos of luxury cars, Mercedes, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, not rented for photo shoots, supposedly owned. Stacks of cash arranged artfully on tables, $100 bills fanned out like playing cards. Designer handbags, expensive watches, first-class plane tickets, hotel suites with views that cost thousands per night. And in the middle of it all, Ashley, young, confident, styled to perfection, living the dream. But the photos weren't just flex culture. They had a purpose, because Ashley Grayson wasn't just showing off wealth, she was selling the promise of it. She branded herself as a business coach and self-made millionaire.
She claimed she'd built multiple successful online businesses, courses, consulting, digital products. Her pitch was simple. I did it, and I can teach you how to do it too. For a fee, of course. Buy her courses, join her mentorship program, invest in her coaching, and you too could have the life she had. The cars, the money, the freedom. Thousands of people bought in. They paid hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for access to Ashley's secrets. But here's the thing about Instagram success. Once you reach a certain level of visibility, people start asking questions. Is this real? Where did the money actually come from? Are those results typical, or are you cherry-picking success stories? In Ashley's case, some people started digging. Other influencers, critics, people who'd taken her courses and felt scammed. They started posting their own content, calling out Ashley's claims, showing that her success stories were exaggerated or fake, questioning whether she was actually a millionaire or just someone good at making it look like she was. And Ashley, like many influencers whose brand depends on perception, didn't take it well. Most people respond to online criticism with more content. They defend themselves, they ignore it, maybe they lawyer up if it's defamation. Ashley Grayson decided to respond with murder. In 2022, Ashley and her husband approached a couple they knew and made an offer, $5,000 to kill 3 people. Not abstract targets, specific people with names and addresses. A rival influencer who'd been publicly criticizing Ashley's business practices, Ashley's ex-boyfriend, another woman Ashley had beef with. The Ashley-approached couple were supposed to be the hitmen. They'd do the killings, collect the payment, and everyone would move on. Except the couple immediately went to the police. What Ashley didn't know was that the couple she approached started recording their conversations. The recordings are chilling, not because Ashley sounds like a hardened criminal, but because she sounds so casual about it, like she's ordering food, not murder. She discusses payment methods. She asks about timelines. She emphasizes that she wants it done quickly because the rival influencer is costing her money with the negative posts. In her mind, this is a business expense, a problem to be solved. The fact that the solution involves ending human lives doesn't seem to register as morally significant. The federal trial in 2024 was brief. The prosecution had recordings. They had testimony from the would-be hitmen. They had evidence of Ashley researching the targets online, gathering information about where they lived and worked. Ashley's defense tried to argue that she wasn't serious, that this was just talk, venting, not an actual plan. But you don't offer $5,000 as a joke. You don't provide addresses and timelines for a hypothetical. The jury convicted her quickly. Murder for hire conspiracy. In March 2024, the judge sentenced Ashley to 10 years in federal prison. 10 years. She's in her 30s now. When she's released, she'll be in her 40s. The Instagram generation she belonged to will have moved on to whatever comes next. The luxury cars, the stacks of cash, the designer life, all of it will be gone, if it was ever real to begin with. And here's the bitter irony. The criticism that Ashley wanted to silence through murder, it was probably right. Subsequent investigations into her businesses suggested that most of her wealth was either exaggerated or came from selling courses about making money, not from actually making money through legitimate businesses. She was selling the dream of success without actually achieving it, a snake eating its own tail. And when people threatened to expose that, she decided they needed to die. If you've ever bought a course from someone because their Instagram looked impressive, if you've ever believed someone was successful just because they showed you photos of wealth, you've been targeted by the same psychology Ashley Grayson weaponized. The performance of success is easier than ever. Rent a car for a day, take photos, post them as if you own it, repeat until people believe you're rich. And once they believe you're rich, you can sell them anything. Ashley took it further than most. She tried to kill her critics, but the fundamental grift is the same. Now, let's talk about our final case,
the one that might be the most infuriating of all. Because it's not about someone who built a fake image, it's about someone who convinced the system he'd changed and then immediately proved he hadn't.
Case number 10. Jason Billingsley, when the system becomes complicit.
Let's talk about what the criminal justice system is supposed to do. It's supposed to punish people for breaking the law. That's the justice part. But it's also supposed to rehabilitate them, to take someone who committed a crime and help them become someone who won't commit crimes anymore. That's the correction part of Department of Corrections. And there's a practical reason for this. Most people in prison will eventually get out. So the question becomes, do we want them to come out worse than they went in or better? This is the philosophical foundation for things like good time credits, reducing sentences for prisoners who behave well, participate in programs, show signs of rehabilitation. The idea is noble: reward good behavior, incentivize change, give people hope that if they work on themselves, they can earn their freedom. But this system only works if we can actually identify who's genuinely changed and who's just good at pretending. Jason Billingsley was sentenced to 30 years in prison for a brutal sexual assault. The details of that original crime are horrifying, violent, premeditated, showing clear intent to harm. This wasn't a crime of opportunity or poor judgment. It was predatory violence. 30 years, that's a long sentence, long enough that Billingsley should have been in prison until he was in his 50s, long enough for him to be past the statistically most dangerous years of his life. But Maryland has a system of diminution credits, good time reductions for prisoners who follow the rules while incarcerated. And Jason Billingsley knew how to follow the rules. He participated in programs, he took classes, he avoided disciplinary infractions. On paper, he looked exactly like what the system hopes for, a reformed individual ready to rejoin society. So, in 2022, after serving less than a third of his 30-year sentence, Jason Billingsley was released. He'd earned his freedom through good behavior. Except he hadn't actually changed at all. Just months after his release, Billingsley committed another violent crime. He tricked his way into a basement apartment in Baltimore. Once inside, he attacked a woman. He sexually assaulted her. Then he set her on fire. She survived, barely, with injuries that will affect her for the rest of her life. But Billingsley wasn't done. 5 days after that attack, Billingsley targeted someone else. Pava Lapere was 26 years old. She was a tech entrepreneur who'd been featured on Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. She'd founded a company called EcoMap Technologies that was doing genuinely innovative work. She was brilliant, kind, deeply invested in making Baltimore a better place. And she was trusting. When Billingsley convinced her to let him into her apartment building, she did. Maybe she thought he was a delivery person. Maybe he claimed he needed help. Maybe he just seemed harmless. He wasn't. Billingsley murdered her, brutally. Then he fled. Think about what was stolen. Not just Pava's life, though that alone is an incalculable loss, but everything she would have done. The companies she would have built, the problems she would have solved, the people she would have helped. All of it erased because Jason Billingsley was released early based on good behavior. Billingsley went on the run. For days, Baltimore police searched for him while the city lived in fear. They finally found him and arrested him, back to prison, back where he should have been all along. At his 2024 trial, there was no question of guilt. The evidence was overwhelming. Billingsley had murdered Pava Lapere and attacked another woman. The defense couldn't argue innocence, so they argued for leniency based on his past trauma, his difficult upbringing, the systemic failures that contributed to his behavior. But the judge wasn't interested in excuses. No one in any community will be safe while you are free, the judge told him. 3 consecutive life sentences, no possibility of parole, ever. Jason Billingsley will die in prison, but he should have already been in prison. He should never have been released.
Here's what's so infuriating about this case. This wasn't a failure of investigation. It wasn't a failure of prosecution. It was a failure of the entire philosophy behind early release. The system looked at Jason Billingsley's good behavior in prison and concluded he was rehabilitated. But good behavior in a controlled environment doesn't mean you're safe in society. Billingsley knew how to play the game. He knew which boxes to check, which programs to attend, how to present himself as reformed. And the system believed him because it wanted to believe him, because believing in rehabilitation is easier than admitting that some people are fundamentally dangerous and will always be dangerous. Pavel Lepere is dead because the system gave Jason Billingsley the benefit of the doubt. If you've ever wondered how someone with a violent criminal history could be walking free, if you've ever been frustrated by stories of criminals re-offending shortly after release, Jason Billingsley is the answer. The system placed its faith in performance, in good behavior, in program participation, in the appearance of change, and a brilliant young woman paid for that faith with her life. This is what happens when we confuse the performance of reformation with actual transformation. Now, after 10 cases, after seeing this pattern play out in different ways across different lives, the very beginning, it's time to answer the master mystery.
Remember where we started? With a brain scan, with a question about what happens in our minds when we see someone performing virtue publicly. Now, after watching 10 people weaponize that performance, we can finally understand why it works. The Yale study I mentioned at the beginning, the one that showed our amygdala, our threat detection system, going quiet when we see public displays of goodness. Here's what the researchers discovered that they didn't publish in the initial paper because it was too controversial, too unsettling. The more frequently someone performs virtue publicly, the more dramatically our threat detection system shuts down. It's not linear, it's exponential. One good deed makes us slightly more trusting. 10 good deeds make us significantly more trusting. 100 good deeds, documented, shared, witnessed by others, make us almost completely defenseless. Why? Why would evolution program us this way? Because for most of human history, it worked. In small tribes, in communities where everyone knew everyone, public virtue was a reliable signal. If someone consistently helped others, shared resources, contributed to the group, they were trustworthy. There was no reason to fake it because there was no anonymity to exploit. But then came cities, then came mass media, then came the internet. Suddenly, you could perform virtue for strangers. You could curate an image. You could show millions of people your good deeds without them ever knowing you personally. And our brains, still running on tribal software, interpreted that the same way they'd interpret seeing someone help their neighbor 100 times. This person is safe, our amygdala concluded. This person is part of the tribe. Except they're not. They're a stranger, a performer, sometimes a predator wearing the costume our brains are programmed to trust. This is the mismatch between our evolutionary programming and our modern reality. We evolved to trust public virtue because in tribes of 150 people, public virtue was reliable. But now we're exposed to thousands of people performing virtue publicly, and we have no way, no biological way to distinguish between someone who's genuinely good and shares it, someone who's genuinely good and performs it for validation, someone who's bad and performs goodness as camouflage. Our amygdala treats all three categories the same, safe. And that's why Ruby Franke's parenting advice worked. That's why Jay Mazini's charity videos worked. That's why Robert Bales's medals worked. That's why Nicholas Browning's Boy Scout uniform worked. That's why Jerry Harris's positivity worked. That's why Mahek Bukhari's glamorous life worked. That's why Haddon Clark's harmless persona worked. That's why Ali Abulaban's comedy worked. That's why Ashley Grayson's success worked. That's why Jason Billingsley's reformation worked. They all hacked the same biological vulnerability, our inability to not trust people who show us their virtue repeatedly. Here's the truly disturbing conclusion from multiple studies that have replicated this effect. The relationship between public virtue and actual safety is inverse. People who perform goodness publicly are statistically more likely to be dangerous than people who do good quietly. Not because performance makes you evil, but because if you're evil and smart, performance is your best strategy. Think about it. If you're a predator, you need access to victims, you need trust, you need people to lower their guard. The absolute best way to achieve that in the modern world is to show everyone your virtue, repeatedly, publicly, until their threat detection systems go quiet. And here's what keeps me awake at night. We can't fix this through awareness alone. You now know about this vulnerability. You've seen 10 examples of how it's exploited. But the next time you see someone performing virtue publicly, giving to charity, sharing inspirational messages, showing their perfect family, your amygdala will still want to go quiet, because it's not a conscious process, it's hardwired. The best you can do is notice the quieting. Notice when you feel yourself starting to trust someone based on their public image, and then manually, consciously, force yourself to stay skeptical. It's exhausting, it feels cynical, it goes against everything we want to believe about human nature, but it's necessary, because the alternative is to be prey. So where does this leave us? You've just spent nearly 3 hours watching the world's trust system be systematically dismantled. You've seen mothers, soldiers, cheerleaders, comedians, handymen, Boy Scouts, every archetype of trustworthiness revealed as predators. It would be easy to conclude, trust no one, assume everyone is performing, treat all public virtue as suspicious, but that's not the answer either. Because most people are genuinely good. Most parents love their children. Most soldiers honor their oath. Most cheerleaders just want to inspire. Most comedians just want to make people laugh. The problem is that we can't tell the difference from the outside. The performance looks identical, whether it's real or fake. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Trust actions, not images. When someone shows you their virtue publicly, don't let it make you trust them automatically. Instead, look for the private actions, the things they do when cameras aren't rolling, the behavior that doesn't benefit their brand. Trust consistency over time. Anyone can be good for a photo shoot. What matters is whether someone is good on Tuesday at 3 p.m. when nothing interesting is happening and no one is watching. Trust skepticism as care, not cynicism. When you question whether someone's public image matches their private reality, you're not being mean, you're being smart. You're keeping your amygdala active. You're protecting yourself and the people you love. Trust your instincts. If something feels off about someone, even if they have 1 million followers, even if they're decorated, even if everyone loves them, listen to that feeling. Your ancient brain might be picking up on something your modern brain can't articulate. And most importantly, share this knowledge. The people you love need to understand this too. Your kids who follow influencers, your parents who trust religious leaders, your friends who invest based on someone's social media success. They need to know that public virtue isn't proof of private safety. That the brightest smiles sometimes hide the darkest secrets, that saints can be devils, and we're biologically programmed not to see it until it's too late. If you've made it this far, you're part of a community that refuses to be prey, that refuses to let our evolutionary programming make us vulnerable. You can't change your biology, but you can be aware of it, and awareness, imperfect as it is the only defense we have. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for staying skeptical. Thank you for keeping your amygdala awake. Stay safe, question everything, and never, ever take a public image at face value. Because as these 10 cases prove, the most dangerous people aren't hiding in the shadows.
They're standing in the spotlight, asking for your applause. And the moment you give it to them, the moment your amygdala goes quiet, that's when you become vulnerable. That's when the saint reveals themselves as the devil they always were.